Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:07 on this Tuesday morning in your nation's capital. Thanks for tuning in to WMAL, where you belong, your family here. Coming up in 30 minutes, Maryland Delegate Mark Fisher, latest on the redistricting efforts by Maryland Democrats. 7:05 brings us Nick Minnock on a story we're about to get into right now out of Loudoun County involving the death of a student. 7:35, Anthony Houston, Graphite One, talk about critical minerals and some of the stuff that he's on top of up in Alaska, and a Trump initiative to really sort of remove our reliance from China. Really important stuff. 8:05, the former Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, working on a brand new initiative for fair maps in Virginia to push back on the redistricting there. And then at 8:35, Tom Rousey, WJLA, talk about the snow cleanup in D.C. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel, who had her garbage picked up, everybody. Let's hear it for Montgomery County, the incredible.
Thank God.
It was probably getting pretty bad. My garbage day is today. So this is just a quick aside. My garbage did pick up last week, but it was just one day delayed. That's the thing. My county, I'm actually in pretty good shape in Anne Arundel County. We haven't been as bad compared to other places around the region, thank God. My neighbor across the street is a retired NCO. I think he's an E9 in the United States Army. In other words, he's got his stuff together. Okay, he's the guy who will he'll like do all the dad stuff that I neglect in my house. He'll bring in my trash cans if I'm gone for 2 days and I've left them out, and he'll if we're on a vacation and a package gets delivered, he'll come over and we'll put it inside our front door for us and stuff. He's just the best. He's the best neighbor you will ever have in your life. We're never going to move because of this neighbor. The highest praise, I looked out this morning, he moved his trash cans over to my driveway this morning for our trash pickup because I had so effectively cleaned out the snow and ice. My driveway is pristine right now compared to the rest of the neighborhood. I just took it as a little badge of honor that for once I had my stuff together.
There you go. Our neighbors that we used to have like that, they moved. We had also said we were never moving, and then they moved.
They were done with you.
Yeah, they were done with us.
All right.
Go ahead.
At 7:05, we've got Nick Minnock, who, of course, covers the region here like no other reporter, frankly, for WJLA, Washington Post, and all other journalistic endeavors in this area, sort of abandoned local reporting. And, boy, there's always a lot to get to between Fairfax County and Loudoun County and Montgomery County, and specifically with the school board. And so listen to this story that he's reporting out. I'm just going to read you directly from his reporting here. Hours after a Loudoun County Public Schools employee allegedly hit and killed a student while driving a maintenance vehicle, the Loudoun County School Board didn't discuss a plan to improve student safety, ask questions about how to make students safer walking to school, or conduct a training for school employees on speeding or distracted driving in school zones at the school board meeting. Instead, the Loudoun County School Board, under the leadership of its new chair, April Chandler, held a closed-door meeting for school board members and administrators on how to respond to terrorist activity at school board meetings. Terrorist activity is in quotation marks from the correspondent.
What did the terrorist training include?
Yeah, go ahead.
According to sources in the room, the school board hired about 30 actors to act as Loudoun County parents. The actors sat in the audience as parents would. And in the scenario that is their fever dreams, one of the parents brought a gun to the school board meeting. The actors were screaming, running, and yelling. This sounds like it's honestly a comedy.
Yeah, it's a scene from
like a dark
The
comedy.
Office. Yeah.
We should send, yes, it is a scene from The Office. We should send this to Jeremy Boring, and he should make this into like a right-wing comedy. Like, yes, we've run over a kid, but let's focus on the real threat here.
Yeah.
Perhaps a terrorist parent could bring a gun.
A Loudoun County student at the school system had just been killed at the hands of it appears, a neglectful employee of the Loudoun County school system, and the emergency meeting behind closed doors that was called by the school board involved 30 paid actors to pretend like they were crazy Loudoun County parents so that the school board members could better handle the trauma and terror of having to actually do their job and respond to the parents who hired them to take care of their schools. Oh, and this is my favorite part. You remember Scott Smith was actually arrested because his daughter had been sexually assaulted in a schoolroom, and they didn't want to let him speak at the school board meeting, so they shut it down, and then the police arrested him. He eventually got a pardon. One of the parent actors in this terrorist scenario that they created was named Mr. Smith. I'm sure there's no coincidence there.
Wild. I would like to see the line item and the form that they filled out to hire these 30 actors. Like, what I want to see the bureaucratic paperwork and how they justified the need to hire 30 paid actors to sit in a school board meeting and pretend.
Yeah.
They've been calling parents terrorists for years. This is what they did under the Biden administration and the Obama administration. They used government resources, law enforcement resources, to peg us parents as white supremacists and terrorists
and domestic terrorists.
Yes. Well, that's Moms for Liberty, right? They're domestic terrorists. So the message has not changed from them, but it's just really terrifying that they, in the immediate aftermath of a child being killed by a municipal employee, that they're like, you know what, this is the right moment for our fever dreams about parents being domestic terrorists.
This was their priority, and by the way, once again, you the parent, you the taxpayer, you the voter, you're the threat. You're the threat that needs to be managed and handled, so much so that they went to these lengths. They literally hired actors to pretend to be angry Loudoun County parents, and then of course one of them brought a gun because of course that's what they do, these wild-eyed, crazy parents. This is what I don't understand. They walk across broken glass to raise money and get elected so that they can sit on this school board. And then they spend so much of their time holding the very parents that they have been elected to serve and represent in such vile contempt. Yeah. Why do you even want to sit on the school board if you hate us so much? And the answer is power. They don't see this as a way to serve the parents or the students or the curriculum or the people or the community. This is a stepping stone for them, an entree into greater political power. That's what school boards have become. It's not about serving the kids.
I agree with you, but I also think that it serves a purpose for their agenda in itself on the school board itself. It's not just a stepping stone. These people are not having children. The statistics about who is having children, who isn't, it's very clear that liberals are not having kids. And so they have to capture the next generation somehow. And so that's why you see so many childless people or someone who had one kid 50 years ago sitting on a school board because they have to save our kids' generation from us.
Or in Fairfax County, where the president of your school board is Carl Frisch, a gay activist who has no children, but he looks at all of the kids in the school system kind of as his own special children. Nick Minnock has more reporting on this unbelievable Looney Tunes story. The moment you think it can't get any worse in Loudoun County with their school board, they ask you to hold their beer. Nick Minnock will join us at 7:05. All right, the Maryland House of Delegates approved a new congressional map that would basically, if the computer models are correct, it would eliminate Andy Harris as the lone Republican representing the state, which would basically, by the way, lock up, setting Pennsylvania aside from, if you go up the East Coast, up the Atlantic coast, from Maryland now all the way up to Maine, it would be a rock-solid, locked-in, total blue New England down into the mid-Atlantic, not counting Pennsylvania. Nothing but Democrat representation. That's their fever dream. They're all angry about what Texas did, and so their reaction is to completely leave Republicans voiceless in all of these states. Governor Wes Moore, right, as of now, Governor Wes Moore has not said he would do this, but all indications are that he would, because he's got to compete with Gavin Newsom, don't you know? So we shall see what the Senate does with this. There is some indication that they won't go forward. Here's a Delegate Mark Fisher, who will be joining us coming up at 6:35. Take a listen. He was on the floor yesterday.
You would think the first bill of the 2026 legislative session would be about lowering property taxes, but it is not. You would think the first bill of the legislative session of the 2026 session would be to lower car registration fees. You know, those fees where you have to have a payment plan to be able to afford them. But it's not. Instead, the first bill of the legislative session in 2026 is to rig elections. And I want to explain why that is the case and why I think it's the case. Because it just came out in the news that Maryland had a net out-migration of more than 14,000 people in just 1 year. These are American citizens who live in Maryland who have left. A net loss. A net loss. Year after year, we see this. And what I think is interesting is you all can shake your heads, and I sometimes see that, but have you ever asked yourself why? Why is it that the blue states, all of them, are losing population? And I think we know why. The policies that are passed by the supermajority are simply unsustainable for everyday Americans.
All right, like I said, Mark Fisher will be joining us at 6:35. Got a little bit more audio from Republicans, but listen, you and I, we both live in blue districts in Maryland, so we're sort of used to having our voice silenced. But the hubris involved with this, especially under the guise of, we're just doing what's best for Maryland. It's such a lie. They're doing what's best for the national party and trying to maximize their representation. Because as Mark Fisher said, they're losing voters. They're all moving to red states.
Yeah, no, and this is, and I think that he really nailed what the average person who doesn't really care about partisan politics thinks about this moment, because, I don't know how much people care about gerrymandering at the end of the day, but I think everyone would care to hear that the first thing on their agenda was not making Maryland better or more affordable for the average person. One thing that I wish he had mentioned, that, it's going to be very relevant in probably a few days when everyone starts getting their Pepco bills from the last month. I am terrified of that personally. It's going to be insane. And the rates have gone up. They've doubled over the course of the last year. So our January for 2026 is going to be insane compared to 2025. And they don't care about affordability. They don't care. Not only do they not care about affordability, but they're doing things that make it less affordable. And so, they're focusing on changing our representation. But Andy Harris was one of the only voices in Congress talking about the energy prices.
Yeah.
And they're going to take him out. They're going to take him out. And it's a bad look. And I don't quite understand why they're doing it.
Yeah. It's power is the answer to why they're doing it. Here's Lauren Erickson of Harford County, one of the last remaining Republicans, speaking about this yesterday.
We always say we don't care what the other states are doing. We're just going to pass this because it's the right thing to do. Meanwhile, just like with this bill, who pays for all those bad policies we pass that no other states care about? The voters of Maryland pay, the ratepayers pay, the taxpayers pay, the people that you claim you're coming down here to represent, they pay. They pay. And with this bill, it's going to be the exact same thing. You're passing a bill claiming you don't care about what anybody else is doing, even though this entire bill is based on what somebody else in another state is doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the irony. We don't care what anyone else is doing. We're just going, no, you're literally doing this because of what other states are doing. All right. Coming up, as I mentioned, Mark Fisher, Maryland delegate, is going to talk about this and the future because, believe it or not, the Senate president, Bill Ferguson, Baltimore Democrat, he could hold this up because he's concerned that this might open the door to a different kind of redistricting, not partisan at the hands of Democrats, but a judge's redistricting that could actually harm Democrats. We'll get into that coming up in a moment. It's 6:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37 now on this Tuesday morning, third day of February. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. Always good to talk with you. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel all morning long in for Julie Gunlock today. By the way, check out Bethany's work at the Mom Wars Substack and podcast. You should be getting a lot of new subscribers with all the plugs we're giving to the Mom Wars there, Bethany Mandel.
I hope so. I have not noticed a big spike, but Lord knows it could be there, and I just don't know.
At 7:05, we'll speak with Nick Minnock of WJLA on that Loudoun County parents are terrorists story we just shared with you. 7:35, Anthony Houston, Graphite One, talk about critical mineral policies here in America and a huge initiative from President Trump on it. At 8:05, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares on a Fair Maps initiative for redistricting in the Commonwealth. And then 8:35, Tom Rousey of Channel 7 about the snow cleanup efforts in D.C. Today is the day. We'll be above the freezing mark. Let's get it done. Joining us right now, he's working every day on your behalf in Annapolis. He is Delegate Mark Fisher. And Delegate Fisher, we just played a little bit of audio from your passionate words on the General Assembly floor yesterday with regard to the vote on this redistricting map. You're right. This is their priority, not affordability, not electric. Bethany was just mentioning we are terrified to see our electric bill this month after all of this, but they don't care. Your colleagues want to make sure that it's a 100% Democrat representation in the House of Representatives. So what happens now in the Senate with this bill?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning, and to all of your listeners, appreciate it. So this bill will go to the Senate because it did pass out of the House, which is the rigged bill. It's the election rigging bill to basically extinguish Republican voices in Maryland, of course, as it relates to sending people to the United States Congress. So for federal elections, it will go to the Senate, and that is the great question, Larry. I mean, will the Senate President, Bill Ferguson, will he actually hear the bill? Will he try to move the bill? He says he's not going to. He thinks it's a bad idea. At least that's what he says. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure anyone knows because there's a lot of pressure coming from Hakeem Jeffries in Congress and from many others in Congress to make sure this bill gets passed.
Are you hearing, our normal, everyday Marylanders who are like us panicking about their energy bills, are they paying attention to this? Do they know that this is, in the offing, or are they oblivious because life is going on around them?
I think they're furious. And look, they are furious because of the fact that when you look outside, there's snow, there's ice. The roads are not that much fun to drive on. The heat never seems to turn off. Of course, your electricity is constantly churning. My parents, as an example, I know everybody has these stories, but my parents, their electricity bill, this is 2 months ago, was typically $250, like 6 months prior to that. But just 2 months ago, it was $800 for the month. And so they were like, well, we didn't change anything. We didn't do anything. Yeah. If anything, we use less electricity. And, of course, they're on a fixed income like so many people are. And I'm just wondering, why would you, if you're a Democrat elected official, why would you make your first order of business to try to extinguish the opposition? How does that actually make electricity prices lower? How does that actually make car registration fees lower? How does that make property taxes lower? It doesn't. It doesn't. So, in fact, we just saw that there's an out-migration of American citizens from Maryland to the tune of more than 14,000 people in just 1 year. Just 1 year.
And they're all fleeing.
So why are they leaving?
They're fleeing to states like Florida and Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Arizona. In fact, the top 10 states that are gaining population all voted Republican in the last presidential election. Delegate Mark Fisher is our guest from Calvert County. You just said that Senate Leader Ferguson might not take this up. Why wouldn't he? Why would the Senate Democrats think this is a bad idea?
So, great question. So the Senate president believes that when this goes to the courts, of course it's going to in the event that it does pass out of the Senate and the governor signs the bill, it would go to the courts, and based on past experience, the courts could either just reject this map and reject the bill and say, redo it, it's unconstitutional. They could say a lot of different things, or they could just redraw the maps for us. And that would end very badly, I think, for the Democrat Party.
For the Democrats. Okay. Oh, so I just want to be clear here. The Senate Leader Ferguson is not reluctant to bring this because out of some sense of moral right and wrong, and whether it's, appropriate to completely silence the minority party in the state of Maryland in their sole seat of representation in the House. He's doing it because he's afraid that if the courts reject it, they'll draw the maps and make it worse for Democrats.
That's exactly right.
Oh, great. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we had all our cards on the table here. What about the governor? Where's Wes Moore in all of this?
Wes Moore met with Hakeem Jeffries, who's the minority leader in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. And, of course, they're all chummy, and Wes Moore is going to do whatever he has to do because Wes Moore, at the end of the day, is just stepping on the heads of Maryland citizens so that he can become president of the United States. That's the most important thing to him. And I think we also shouldn't forget that the second priority bill of the Maryland House of Delegates and of course, Senator Bill Ferguson, by the way, the second priority is to actually make sure that criminal illegal aliens aren't deported.
Right.
That Maryland does not cooperate. So that's why I said what I said before. Look, you're losing citizens, 14,000 people left just in 1 year, and it's entirely possible that Maryland will lose one representative in the United States Congress when there's apportionment in a number of years.
Likely.
And very likely. And at the end of the day, their answer is, oh, well, we'll just try to get illegals to vote. We'll get as many in as we possibly can. And it's really disgusting because it's so disrespectful for the people that are American citizens, that follow the laws, that pay the taxes. And it's almost hard to believe.
Because of our proximity to D.C., we're used to Maryland delegates, Democrats doing the bidding of the national party. So Hakeem Jeffries is basically the governor of Maryland at this point. Bethany, it's very rare that you get a member of the State House here on our show. I know you're woefully non-represented in Annapolis right now. So are there any issues that you'd like to complain about or
yes.
You've got Maryland Delegate Mark Fisher here. He'll take it right to the floor. I mean,
so
he'll
let's
die.
Let's go.
Okay.
I do have an issue that I want to complain about. Thank you so much. This is like the airing of grievances, and it's
That's
Festivus,
right.
but in February. Festivus in February. In Montgomery County and across Maryland, college classes are free for public school students if you want to drop into a community college class. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Homeschool and private school students have to pay full tuition. So me as a taxpayer, if I'm sending my kids to public school, they don't have to pay to take a community college class. But if I'm not using tax dollars outside of the school system as a private school or homeschool parent, I have to pay.
Oh, there you go.
I have
Delegate
to pay
Fisher,
tuition
this
on
is
those
a crowd
classes.
pleaser. I bet you'd find some Democrats to join you on this one.
It's fascinating that is even the law. I actually did not even know that myself. And you're right. I'll bet you that if a bill were put in this session, the Democrats would make sure that it would be defeated because they also won't allow your child who is homeschooled in K-12 to participate in after-school activities, including sports.
Oh,
right. 100%.
Oh, but this
yes.
includes private school. Now, I'm telling you, this is a winner with all the elite Democrats in Montgomery County who don't send their kids to public school. They all send them to, Georgetown Prep and what have you. They'll be all over this. This is a bipartisan thing. Call it the Mandel O'Connor school, college. I don't know. You can come up with a name. It's got to be an acronym that spells out something like, duty or something. Okay.
Dude.
This is what you guys do all the time. It's great.
You mean like DOODY, that kind
there
of
you go. Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course. Of course. We're still a morning show here, Delegate Fisher. All right.
Well, that actually does make sense, because in Montgomery County, I do have a bunch of colleagues in the House of Delegates who are very disgusted with the public school system in Montgomery County and decided to send their kids to private school.
Of course they did. Of course they did. All right. Mark Fisher, Maryland delegate Mark Fisher, one voice of reason there in Annapolis in a cloud of confusion. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Keep us updated on how it goes.
Indeed, I will.
They always have the best acronyms for their bills, right? That they always come up. So I would think, like, if I were in the back of the room, I have a very Beavis and Butthead mentality here, Bethany, and I always try to come up with, like, naughty words that our bill spells, you know?
Yeah, you do have a future in politics. I know that you claim that you don't, but you clearly do.
It's 6:47.
For years, American businesses have risked running out of critical minerals during market disruptions. Today, we're launching what will be known as Project Vault to ensure that American businesses and workers are never harmed by any shortage. We don't want to ever go through what we went through a year ago. Just as although it did work out, thank you. Just as we have long had a strategic petroleum reserve and a stockpile of critical minerals for national defense, we're now creating this reserve for American industry, so we don't have any problems.
That's the president yesterday during a signing ceremony for what he's calling Project Vault. A $12 billion rare earth stockpile is envisioned right now. This reduces America's reliance on China, and this is going to be huge in terms of getting us a step closer to having independence from countries who really hold dominion over us with regard to critical minerals and rare earth. This combines approximately $1.6 billion in private capital with $10 billion in loans, everybody, from the Export-Import Bank. It functions like a oil reserve, basically, for private industry, focusing on economic and national security. And make no mistake, these rare earth minerals, it is national security. Every single one of the guidance system, weapons system, navigation systems that the Pentagon relies on right now, they rely on these rare earth minerals. It's a big step forward, and it's something that's been neglected by prior administrations.
This is one of those things. I compare it to the Golden Dome, where right now I think, and Greenland, a lot of Americans probably think it's dumb. They're like, I don't really get it. I don't
or just
see the
don't
point.
get it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, but they think it's dumb because they don't get it. And this is one of those things where in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, people are going to look back and be like, wow, he really thought ahead on this one.
Can I tell you something? In 2010, I was hanging out at Andrew Breitbart. Well, I wasn't hanging out. I was working at Andrew Breitbart's house down in the basement there in Brentwood. And we were going out to lunch, I think, and his neighbor, his next-door neighbor, comes over and he goes, "Hey, Andrew, have you guys been looking into the rare earth issue?" This was 16 years ago.
Wow.
He says, China's got us by the cojones on rare earths. This is a major problem. And this guy would put it on our map back then. Wow. And I always filed that away, saying, I wonder, how critical this is going to be. And here we are. Listen, coming up, very few people know a lot about rare earth issues, the international market, the reliance on China. But we've got an expert on it. At 7:35, we'll hear from Anthony Houston with Graphite One, a company that is right now focusing on Alaska. Alaska could very well be the solution to our dependence on China for all of these things. Anthony Houston will join us to explore this issue and educate all of us. That's at 7:35. Right now, it's 6:54.